Martina, thank you so much for joining us. This series that we are doing is of musicians that are dedicated to what they do, that are serious at continuing even in these trying times. You are such a special talent. I love what you're doing as not only a singer-songwriter, but also as a record producer. You've got so much that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now tell me, we are challenged now with this pandemic. We're home. We have to kind of reinvent ourselves. We have to go through a learning curve of technology. We have to learn skills that we didn't know before. How are you dealing with all this?
You know, I've had to learn in the last week how to be a camera operator, a lighting person, a makeup artist, a hair stylist. It's crazy, you know, and try to find pretty light in my house. And so, yeah, it is quite a technological learning curve for sure.
Well, this is going to make us appreciate these people as you go on and travel again. You're really going to understand what they do better, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So you're home. Are you inspired to do any writing? What exactly are you doing to keep your sanity with all of this?
I'm listening to a lot of music. I am practicing, trying to keep the instrument in shape. I'm actually doing a lot of cooking. That's my other passion other than singing. I love to cook, and I've written 2 cookbooks. So I'm working on a 3rd cookbook, and just really, that's kind of what is keeping me sane is, you know, meal planning and being able to provide for my family in that way. And I always say it's kind of my love language. You know, it's my way to nurture and take care of people. So that's been the thing that's kind of kept me sane, really.
And we are looking for that balance of sanity for sure. Tell me about what you're practicing. What exactly are you practicing that you're working on that you're dealing with now?
Well, I just work on, you know, my songs. I go back and sing along with records. You know, how I learned to sing. I grew up in a very, very rural community in Kansas. The town I went to high school in had 180 people in the entire town. So I graduated in a class of 10. So we didn't have voice lessons or I took piano lessons, but really no voice teachers or anything like that. So the way I really learned how to sing was singing along with records. And I would really spend hours every day just singing along with my Linda Ronstadt records and my Bonnie Raitt records and my Pat Benatar records and Ricky Lee Jones. So I got away from that for a long time because, of course, I had my own music to sing. But I've recently gotten back into that. I've gotten into putting on an album and singing along. And it's been such a great touchstone because it takes me back to when I was first learning how to sing and trying to capture all the nuances of those singers and all of the range and power. So it's kind of keeping me in shape a little bit, you know, keeping my chops up.
Well, listen, keeping your chops up. Your chops are fantastic. Absolutely. Your chops are great. So what is it like? You know, you mentioned names like Ricky Lee Jones, these great singers. What is it about them that draws you into their sound?
I love great singers. And for me, that is a combination of intimacy, of being able to deliver a lyric in an emotional way, a way that connects, that feels connected and authentic, and just technique, you know, just like being able range and tone and power and dynamics and all of that's all the stuff that I am drawn to and soul, you know, that indefinable kind of thing, you know, like when you listen to Bonnie Raitt sing, and it's just this kind of world weary soulfulness. Aretha Franklin, you know, the same thing. It's a connectedness and a soulfulness, a connectedness to something that's kind of indescribable, really.
So when you were young, were you aware of that when you were younger, or were you just kind of listening and trying to learn and steal from them? What was happening in your youth?
Yeah, no, I was definitely stealing. I didn't have the words to describe what I just described to you. I didn't know anything about singing. All I knew was I loved to do it, and that if I could hit the notes like Linda Ronstadt, that was probably a pretty good start. So it was really just going for it and listening a lot. You know, most of the time I'm able to accomplish, you know, when I'm singing along with somebody. But before I knew how to do it, I had to listen to see what they were doing, listen to how the phrasing was, what were the dynamics, what made it so special, what about the vibrato, what's happening there, you know, and really listening. And it was great ear training and just a great way for me to try to just keep getting better.
But what a great way to learn. You know, it's interesting about you coming from this rural area, and you've taken this skill and this gift that you have, and this range that you have been blessed with, which is so beautiful. And you really kind of brought this into the world of music. So writing, how did writing enter into your life at that point?
So when I moved to Nashville, all of the singers that I mentioned that I grew up listening to, with the exception of Ricky Lee Jones, really were more interpreters of song. They weren't really singer-songwriters. So when I moved to Nashville, all I, heard about was how amazing our songwriters are here. And that's true. Yeah. So I really, for the first part of my career, just relied on outside songwriters for my songs. And it wasn't until I wrote Anyway, which I can't remember what year that was, but I wrote that with a couple of guys named the Warren brothers, Brad Warren and Brett Warren, who really they came to me with the idea for the song, and I was cutting an album. And I said, yeah, I'll cut that, go finish it. And I think it's amazing. And they're like, no, we want you to finish it with us, which is really incredibly generous looking back, because I'd already said I was going to cut it. They didn't need me writing on it for me to cut the song. So I did. And we sat in a room, and about 15 minutes later had this song. And it was like the first time that I realized that, because I always feel so close to the songs that I choose that I haven't written. I mean, they feel like mine, but there is something about being able to write the words that you want to say, rather than having to wait for someone else to write them, or wait to sift through thousands of songs to find them. I love that process too. I really do. It's like a little treasure hunt. I really love finding a song that's perfect. But writing is and I have to say that it's not something that I do every day. I'm a bit of a reluctant songwriter, and it's tedious to me. The process is very tedious. It's great when you land on something and then it starts rolling, but just the process of getting a song started sometimes is, there'll be hours and hours of just sitting around writing and thinking and, bouncing ideas. So I don't write as much as I should, but I do enjoy it. And I enjoy the finished product when we come up with something. What
inspires you? What is the ingredient that kind of fuels you to want to hear something? Is it maybe a musical phrase? Is it a sentence? What can bring that out of you?
Usually what I try to go for is a conversational style. Like, I like just saying the word. I don't use a lot of metaphor or fancy. I'm not a fancy writer. It's just really like conversations. I sometimes like that we'll get a great verse and a great chorus, and they'll be like, okay, now let's think about the second verse. And I'm like, I don't think we need a second verse. Because what else are you going to say? We've said it so beautifully, and, let's just write a cool bridge and call it good. And they're always like, really? That's so weird, because, they have a kind of a formula. And I'm like, yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to say about this. We've done it. It's like anything else would just be extra. So sometimes I bring a perspective that's not, classic songwriter. And I think it's cool.
What is it like in the dynamics of your family? You're home now, everyone's in the house. How do you balance the family time and the writing time and the cooking time? How do you balance all of it?
Well, I find that these days go by really quickly, which is surprising to me. And we're all handling it in our own way. First of all, I'm kind of an introvert, so I'm a homebody. So this really hasn't changed my life that much. I'm not an out and about girl. So when I'm off the road, I stay home for days at a time. And so I'm comfortable with this. My husband, on the other hand, is a people person, and he likes to be on the go. So it's been harder for him. He actually bought a lawnmower. We have quite a big lawn, and he bought a lawnmower and a power washer and a weed whacker. And he's been outside of the house working all day. And it's like finding that to be his saving grace. And I have 3 daughters, a 25-year-old who lives about 3 miles from us, and she comes back and forth between her house and our house. And she does a little bit of grocery shopping for me, nice, which is really helpful. And then I have a 14-year-old who is kind of like me. She's not too affected by this isolation. She's doing okay. And then she's learning remotely online, which is an adjustment. And then I have a 22-year-old as well who lived in New York until a few weeks ago. And then I guess maybe she left the beginning of March. I'm glad that she's safe here in Nashville.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the balance of all this and what you're putting together and the learning curve we've all had to deal with, are you dealing with any social media? Are you trying to keep word out of what you're doing? Is that a part of your life now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really enjoy social media. I always have. mean, at first it was weird, but then I got used to it, and I really love, especially Instagram. That's probably where people will find the most content from me, because it's just really visual, and I'm a visual person. A lot of cooking stuff on there. If you don't want to see anybody cooking, don't look at my Instagram live, because I do a lot of cooking and tutorials and stuff like that. But no, but I really embrace social media, because I think it's such a great way to stay in touch with people, and fans, while we can't physically be performing or being together at a show. I've enjoyed it a lot.
So with that, the social media, you're posting all this information about your life. It's not necessarily about music. So you're allowing the cooking to be a part of that equally, right?
Yeah. Like I said, that's another passion of mine. And I've been fortunate enough to write 2 cookbooks, and I had a cooking show on Food Network for 1 season. So I always say that at this point in my life, to be able to kind of embark upon a second or an additional career is really a blessing. It's not like something that's a chore for me to do or to share. And I feel like it's kind of like music in a way where it's about sharing. It's about nurturing people, taking care of people, and sharing recipes and sharing tips and ideas. So it's similar in that way to me.
Listen, I get that really well. I come from a large Italian family, and here in New York, when we get together, it's all about the food.
Right.
And what's amazing is the food is a major part of what brings people together. But then when we were together, it was always about the music that brought joy in this celebration of food. So I love the fact that you balance that both together, because that really kind of opens up doors of fans discovering that, you can have more than one passion. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. I love that idea of not limiting ourselves to only one thing. And then when that thing, whatever that career or whatever it is that you choose to do starts to change or mature or whatever it is, some people feel like they have nothing else. They spent their whole life building something, and so I think it's important to realize that there are, you can have more than one passion. So yeah.
Do you see yourself as a brand? I mean, I look at you and I see this incredibly talented musician, writer, performer. I see now the cookbooks that you have out, which of course now my wife is going to jump all upon. I'm sure she'll be reaching into that. So we'll be tasting some of the food that you have prepared for sure. Sure. As a brand, do you see yourself as a brand?
I don't think of it consciously in that term. I feel like that's a bit not so personal or something, but I am a businesswoman as well. So I do understand the value and the importance of whatever you're putting out there for it to be authentic and real. I think that's what people relate to me, my fans relate to me the most, is that anything that they see me doing, whether it's a product that I'm talking about or if whatever it is, they know by now, after all this time, that is the truth. In that way, I guess it is a brand. Authenticity is what I love to think about as my brand. Honesty, relatability.
Yeah.
So if you can call that a brand, yeah, I guess that's what I'd like my brand to be known as.
It really is a brand when you think about it. And even though brand can be an impersonal, almost like a title, it's not really a title. Right. How you put yourself out is all of that. It's honest, it's natural, it's real. You're like a regular person that has this incredible relaxed ability of being able to sing beautifully and being able to write and move people to an emotional level that's so beautiful. But you do this with no concern of, the acting or the bigger picture. You're just like a real down to earth person that loves what you do. And this is huge.
That's a good description.
How do you balance? You say you're a businesswoman, and this is a very important part of us to monetize what we do to survive and live in this world. How do you balance the business side with the creative side? How do you find those two?
I actually am really interested in the business side. I think I've always been the kind of person that's had a lot of ideas. I do feel like because it is me. I've always had a hand in my videos. I've always had a big hand in production of my albums, and also just how I'm presented. Like, advice that I would give a new artist would be to, if you have a knack for it and if you're interested, to try to get involved in that, because otherwise it's just somebody else's version of you, right, that you're putting out there. So I love it. I love coming up with ideas. I love brainstorming with creative people. I love my team player. I love when it all comes together and it's a good finished piece of work.
So by being involved with the business side of it, you're allowed to, for lack of better terms, control the brand. You can keep on it, right?
I'm very controlling. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that that's tied up in there too. As I've gotten older, I've learned to trust people a little bit more. I'm very particular and I'm very involved, but I don't know. I'm probably less controlling than I used to be when I was, starting out or trying to figure out what it is I wanted to say and be and do. And now I trust the people around me with the minutia a little bit more, but I'm still very involved. Yeah.
And John is a sound engineer. So is he involved with any of this process?
Yes, he's my live sound engineer on the road. Mm-hmm. And he also mixes a lot of my records in the studio. Really? Yeah.
That is fantastic. So when you're in the studio, he's working closely with you as far as from the beginning to the end of the process?
Not so much the beginning. He really comes in as a mixer. So, he's mixed other, he doesn't just mix me, he's mixed some stuff for Greta Van Fleet and Dave Stewart and Stevie Nicks. And so he's extremely talented. I'm very lucky that I get to have such a talented engineer so close at hand. But he doesn't really get involved in the vocals, or he tracks the record, which is a huge part of the sound, I think, the way things are mic'd. So he tracks the record and then he kind of goes away, and I do overdubs with the producer or by myself. I have an engineer that I use for all my vocals and overdubs, and then he'll come back in at the end and mix it. So it's really a good partnership.
You have a knack for surrounding yourself with creative and talented people. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think that's key. I mean, I think that's definitely the secret. I'm a really loyal person. So once I get people around me that we all kind of share the same values, the same work ethic, the same camaraderie, then I kind of stick with those people for a really long time. Like a lot of my band and crew have been with me my musical director's been with me over 25 years. My tour manager has been with me over 25 years. Sometimes it takes a minute to weed through and find the people, your tribe, and then once you do, that's so important to everything. Mutual respect, talent, like I said, work ethic, all that's so important.
Well, I think you have found this incredible balance of the business side, the creative side, and the family side. The family balance, not just so much in your home with your wonderful, family and your kids that you have there, but also the family of who you work with in the production of Martina McBRIDE. I mean, you really have this wonderful package that you put together. Listen, that's also a skill. Listen, being blessed with a beautiful voice is one thing. Being blessed with the talent of being able to be so compassionate that you can feel what other people feel and then put that into words and express that into a song and produce what you produce. But to balance all of this family, long-term relationships, that really is fantastic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Really, that's just beautiful. Well, I'll tell you, in closing, what would you say to this next generation of young talent that is out there, that's inspired to want to go out there? What would you say to them to give them a little advice and comfort in them reaching their dreams?
I think if you have a passion for making music, there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing it. You have to follow it and stick with it, and determination is key. Everybody has a different path. So there's no handbook that you can follow and it's going to work out. You just have to stick with it, and you never know when somebody is going to hear your music, or you're going to run into make a connection with somebody that starts the whole ball rolling. Yeah. So as long as you're having fun at it and you're enjoying it and you're passionate about it, just stick with it. Also, surround yourself with really good people. That's very important. And be hands-on in your career, because nobody knows you like you do. And sometimes we can get in our own way and we need an outside perspective. That's definitely true. I've learned that too. But for the most part, it's you that you're putting out there. So nobody knows you like you do. So, stay involved in how you're presented to the world and just be yourself.
You are clearly yourself. Listen, you are honest. You are down to earth. You are just a regular person that has an incredible, irregular, blessed gift. I think that's a great, great balance in what I see from you. From hearing all the music that you've put out, and as a musician, I've researched it, and what you're doing is fantastic. And I got to go back. The mixing is really impressive. So I got to go back and compliment John. That really is pretty powerful. Not only on the recordings, but live also. That's a really great ear to have to support the delivering of your message.
Definitely. I'm lucky.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, I thank you so much, Martina. You are fantastic at all levels. Good luck. Stay home. Be safe. And we look forward to, at some point, maybe we can get down to Nashville and do a longer version of this interview. That would be a lot of fun.
I would love that. Definitely.
Thank you so much. Have a great time, and good luck and be safe. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Dom Famularo here, the Sessions panel. This is so exciting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Click the subscribe button to be a part of what we're doing. The views help us tremendously. All of your comments, we read them and react to them. This is incredible. The support you're giving us is great. The Sessions panel. We'll see you real soon.